Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where people truly believe that they can have what they want, when they want, because they're special. And in today's episode, guys, OP's dad demands that she give him one of her kidneys because he's dying and needs one. Get ready to shake your heads, guys, because the stories in this one are outrageous. I hope you enjoy them. Subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, you can send or link your post to this email right here. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I had to travel to a city 6 hours away for college-related work. The trip was pretty tight. I had to leave on Thursday night by train, reaching the city Friday morning, go to work until the evening, and then take a train to get back home on Friday night. When I got into the train station at about 10 p.m., I still hadn't had dinner. I was exhausted. I happened to share my cabin in the train with a middle-aged woman and her toddler. There was around 30 minutes left for the train to start, so I went out of the train, quickly got some snacks and ice cream, and then got back into the cabin. I decided to have the ice cream first because I didn't want it to melt. Now, I was already a few licks in, and that's when the toddler saw it and starts asking for it. At that, I just looked at the mom, and she goes, "Give that ice cream to my son and buy yourself a new one." Now, I was taken aback because she wasn't even requesting, she was demanding. I was way too exhausted to take any crap from anyone, old or young. So I continued having the ice cream and told the woman, "The shop is right there. They have all the flavors, just take him." The toddler then starts crying loudly, and that's when I plug in headphones. The mom then starts yelling at me, saying things like, "You're a brat. You're heartless for doing that to a child. You are trying to make me miss the train," and other things I couldn't hear because I put the music full volume. I didn't feel guilty about finishing the ice cream in front of a crying toddler because I was really pissed at the moment. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt bad for the kid sometime later, and I thought of offering him some chips, but I didn't want to engage in any form of conversation with the mom. The remainder of the journey was in utter silence. I did tell my boyfriend about this after I came back home, and he thinks it's hilarious, but my mom wasn't happy about this. She was more shocked than angry because I've always been great with kids, and she couldn't believe that I would do that to a kid, even if the mom was annoying. Honestly, guys, when I hear stories that involve Karens demanding complete strangers hand over what they're eating to their kids, I can't help but to shake my head in disgust. Like, do some people not know germs? Like, back when I was little, they taught us to be wary and to never accept food from strangers. But nowadays, parents expect food from strangers to help calm their tantruming children. Like, what about telling them no, Karen? And guys, if I were in OP's shoes, I would be staring right at the mom while eating my ice cream cone, making full eye contact because I'm savage. Alright, so after being on here for a while, I decided that I should finally post a story. I have quite the list of entitled stories, but I'm using this one because it's the most recent. I live in this one-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend on the first floor, and while the parking is absolutely horrible and the landlord takes eons to respond to anything except money issues, it's not a bad place. All of my neighbors are friendly and we rarely have noise complaints. Until Karen moved in a month ago. It's quite a change. I recently lost my job, so I've been stuck at home looking for a new one. And this lady has 2 sperm trophies below 10, I believe, who aren't in school. So I hear everything. These walls aren't thick and she lives above us. Now her and her baby daddy are a major pain. They blast anime music almost 24/7, with children noises mixed in. That's only on weekends though. On weekdays, Karen blasts Teletubbies all day, and it's the same 2 episodes because she's played it so much and so loud that I practically memorized it. It's torture. Now, people have complained, but the landlord doesn't respond ever unless it involves money, so we've had no help there. The woman also lets her kids run into people's front porches and do whatever. Everyone has a tiny gated front porch, and it's an unspoken rule to not go in the porch unless you want to talk to the person in the apartment. But the Karen doesn't care. She lets her goblins run everywhere, in the streets, up and down the stairs, and into people's porches, breaking stuff. People have complained, but she's ignored them by saying, "I'm stuck with them all day. Letting them do this tires them out, so I can have peace for once. Help a poor mom out." Totally ignoring the fact that one woman has 5 kids, and yet she keeps them in line. Now on to last Sunday night. Me and my boyfriend were playing some video games on the Nintendo Switch, just having a grand old time, laughing and giggling like a bunch of fools. And yes, we did get a bit loud, but we figured Karen's music would drown it out. We then hear what sounded like angry talking upstairs, and then the music goes silent. Me and my boyfriend look at each other in confusion, and that's when we hear a knock at the door. I get up to answer while my boyfriend takes a moment to go to the bathroom, and lo and behold, it's Karen. Now this is the first time that I've ever come face to face with her, so I'm a bit taken aback, and she does not look happy. One thing about me is I'm a sarcastic a-hole sometimes, but only to friends and family. But I was also a bit drunk when this happened, so I blame that for my snarky attitude. I remember a good chunk, but obviously not word for word. I basically say, "Hi, can I help you?" Karen says, "Yes. Can you please be quiet? You're making so much noise that it's hard for any of us to hear anything in our place, and your screaming is waking our kids." I reply, I'm sorry, I just assumed with the loud music you were playing that it wouldn't bother you. And with the music that loud, I didn't think anyone was sleeping. The woman scowls at this statement, and I could see her getting angry. She then says, "Seriously? You complain about our music when every day you always play that jazz crap? Who listens to jazz anyways?" Hearing her say that, this confuses the hell out of me, and I just stare at her with said confusion. The Karen goes on and says, "Oh, don't play dumb. You always play that music so loud that none of my kids ever get sleep. So I have to blast my own music to drown out your crap." I'm just staring at her, trying to comprehend before I realize that she's talking about my neighbor next door, who happens to play jazz music on the weekends and never at night. And it's not even close to being loud. I only hear it because the walls are paper thin and I live right next door, and even then, it's barely audible. So I tell her, I think you're confusing me for my next door neighbor. He's the one that plays jazz. And even then, he never does it at night. Maybe talk to him tomorrow. Karen doesn't like this, and she stomps her foot and says, "Stop lying. I know it's you playing that crap, and I want you to stop. If you don't stop, I will call the landlord on you and get you evicted." Now I just laugh because it's so absurd, which pisses her off even more. I say to her, "Look, I'm not even the one playing the music, and frankly, even if I was, I would not be able to hear it over the dumb crap you blast every night. So if you have a problem, talk to the landlord." I then try to close the door, but she puts her hand and foot down so I can't close it. And she goes off on how much of a bitch I am, and how dare I do this to a mother, yada yada yada. She then sees the TV, and us playing Super Smash Bros. On the Switch. And at that point, she proceeds to try to force herself in, and I quickly try to push her back, screaming, "What the F do you think you're doing?" The woman then screams, "Give me that Nintendo Switch. You've kept my kids up all night with your crap music and your loud shouting, and I've had it." My boyfriend finally gets out of the bathroom, and he sees me fighting with the Karen to close the door. He then runs over, screams at her to get the F out or he'll call the cops, and then pushes her back to where we can close and lock the door. The woman spends the next 10 minutes screaming and banging at our door before finally giving up and leaving, after my jazzy neighbor comes out and yells at her to leave, which she finally does. Me and my boyfriend stay by the door for a good 20 minutes before we decide enough for tonight and sleep. I believe Karen turned her music up even louder. The next morning, we emailed the landlord and we're hoping for the best. She's giving me death stares since, but I rarely go outside anymore, so I don't care. Talk about nightmare neighbors, guys. And with all the tenants complaining about her, I really hope she gets evicted. But how stupid is that? She can listen to her music as loud as she wants, but as soon as someone else tries to have fun, oh, well, that's freaking illegal. Let me forcefully enter your home to confiscate your Nintendo Switch that's making you that rowdy. Okay, so basically, the gist is, my dad, who's 65, wants my kidney. I'm a 28-year-old female. He's my biological dad, and the only dad I've ever had. He was extremely abusive to my mom. She got out when I was 15, and he manipulated us against her. He said she abandoned us because she didn't want to be a mother, so we were estranged for 5 years. I basically raised my little siblings while he checked out emotionally. We lived in constant fear of his anger, and we did everything to keep him happy. But all he ever did was criticize us and call us names. At 23, I went back to school with no support, financial or otherwise, from him. I worked full-time and attended night classes. I also started therapy, mourned my childhood, and began learning basic things like emotional regulation, self-esteem, and self-trust. I still struggle in many ways, but I'm proud of how far I've come. Even though he never changed, I forgave him, and I understand he never meant to hurt us. That he's like a volcano, overflowing with pain and destroying everything in its path. He's my dad, and I will always love him, but we're not that close. He doesn't ask about my life or try to get to know me. I try to maintain firm boundaries to protect my sanity. With that said, over the years, his kidneys issue went from manageable to very bad. Lately, he's been in and out of the hospital and it's not looking good. His doctors recommended that he start dialysis while awaiting his turn on the waitlist. An average wait is 3 to 5 years, and they don't know if he has that long. Dad, however, does not want to be hooked up to a machine 5 hours a day, 3 times a week. What he wants instead is for a family member to donate to just get it over with. One of his sisters can't due to a heart condition, and the other has flat out refused. He has no close friends or relatives because he's alienated just about everyone in his life. His girlfriend, who's 35, is getting screened. Now comes his kids. He never actually asked me and my sister if we would consider having a piece of ourselves cut out for him. He just walks in the house one day while my sister and I were eating dinner, dropped some paperwork on the table, and then said, "There are some forms for you and your sister to fill out. I want to have you both tested to see if you're a match." He didn't even wait for us to respond. He just walks away after saying that. It's clear he feels entitled to ask this. Now obviously, I don't want him to die, and I'm certain that donating my kidney would change nothing about our relationship, and he would still be his narcissistic self. I fear having a breakdown if I make this sacrifice for him and he's not grateful. A voice in the back of my mind says that he's taken enough from me. Why should I undergo surgery and recovery and live with one kidney for him? What if another loved one needs a kidney down the line? I don't want to do it, but my aunts say that it'll be our fault if he dies. How can I navigate the situation without alienating my dad and my family? In my opinion, guys, even if OP is a match, she should not be giving her father the kidney, even if the whole family's guilt-tripping her. Like, she clearly doesn't want to, and if she's pressured into doing it, it'll lead to major regrets in the future. Like, that is such a huge demand, especially coming from someone that OP barely has any connection with. And guys, I don't know how the process of testing goes, but I do remember in a post that I read a long time ago where someone suggested that if you go get tested and let the doctor know you don't want to donate, that they will very politely tell the person that you're not a match or you don't meet certain criteria for donation, no questions asked. That might be the best way to go about it, considering the situation OP's in. But guys, let me know what you think. How many of you would be giving your dad a kidney in this situation? Like, I can't see many people wanting to cut out an organ to give to someone that they're not very fond of to begin with. I'm a 25-year-old guy, and my parents were in the process of divorcing when my mother got diagnosed with a terminal illness. After the diagnosis, my father stalled on divorce proceedings. My father filed for divorce after 26 years of marriage, after he fell in love with his young business partner. She recently gave birth to his child. My mother was a stay-at-home mom for 25 years, who took care of the entire household while my father worked long hours, and she was blindsided when he told her about wanting a divorce. He told her that he would always love her as his best friend and as the mother of his 5 children, but he was also in love with this other woman. My mother, of course, was devastated, and she stopped eating properly. In the middle of the divorce, she was diagnosed with terminal illness, and she was only given a few months to live. All this time, we, her children, have looked after her. I took her to all the appointments, and we paid for the treatment by taking loans. We didn't ask our father for money, even though he was willing to cover the expenses. Legally, at the time of her death, she was still married to my father. During her last days, my father had to move to another city to be there for his daughter's birth. My uncle made a Facebook post asking for a blood donation as she has a rare blood type, and stated that she was critical. When my dad got to know about it, he immediately flew down to our city. When he showed up to the hospital, he was in bad shape. He wanted to see my mother one last time. I told him that there was no use, as she was unconscious. He then begged and cried in front of everyone, and I still didn't allow him to meet her. My mother passed away the next morning, and he didn't leave, and he wanted to be there for the funeral and memorial service. We banned him from attending. I believe that he lost the right to see her in her pain when he was the one who caused her immeasurable pain. My buddy tells me that me and my mother's family are the a-holes for not letting him see her one last time. So am I the a-hole in this situation? So I wanted to share this post because it's pretty split, guys. A lot of people are saying that OP is the a-hole, and some people are saying that OP did nothing wrong. This person calls OP an a-hole and says, "You are the a-hole. I'm sorry, but no matter what, you don't get in the way of things that you have absolutely no knowledge about. Was your dad wrong in the decisions he made? Yes, absolutely. But you don't really know the truth of their relationship of all those years they were together. He at least deserved to see her one last time and pay his respects." That may be an unpopular way of seeing the situation, but I don't believe it's your right to be the judge and jury in their marriage. Marriages are just too complicated for that. It's possible that your mom needed that too. I'm sorry for your loss. You handled it the best you knew, given your own pain and anger at your dad. But in my opinion, it was wrong to deny them a few last minutes alone. And this person comments, "Not the a-hole. He can't have his divorce and be a husband too." There she was, brokenhearted and dying for months, while he played house with a side piece and a new baby. There's zero reason to allow him to barge in with his grief, disrupting her last hours. While this person comments, "You are not the a-hole. If push comes to shove, I'm protecting my mother 100%. Especially if he were to put her through all that. Sorry, but why should he get the luxury of relief when she died knowing her marriage was not only broken, but the only man she loved had a baby? No way." Guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Did dad deserve to see his wife of 26 years one last time, or did OP do the right thing by not letting him in? So to give some backstory, I'm a 19-year-old living in a small neighborhood in my parents' old small house. I mow my own lawn, which is reasonably small because there's no HOA, and I can't afford to hire anyone to do that for me. Also, the sun and exercise is great. 3 of my neighbors are either elderly, don't have the time, or don't own mowers of their own. So I mow their reasonably small lawns for free, at the same time I mow mine. I live in a very close neighborhood, so while I may do mowing, another neighbor may power wash driveways or some such. Let's just say that I mow out of the goodness of my heart, and I get compensated with a bottle of cold water by 2 out of the 3. The third, however, she's a Karen. She's a very stubborn, 40-something-year-old lady who 1. Owns her own mower, 2. Can't afford to hire someone to do it for her, and 3. She's very specific about how and when her lawn gets done, even though it's free. Now, reason 3 pisses me off the most, honestly, because she doesn't let me use my own mower or fix hers. Seriously, it's like she's punishing me for volunteering to help her. And this mower is a piece of crap. The blades are dull, she doesn't let me sharpen them, and it's clogged full of old grass, and she doesn't let me clean it. And yet, every time I ask if I can tidy it up, she snaps and says, "Quit wasting time and just get the job done. My lawn's not gonna cut itself." The woman is mean, entitled, and she doesn't care that I do 4 lawns in one day. Even on days where I can't mow the lawn because I'm feeling under the weather or just too busy with school, she threatens to call the HOA. Again, we don't have one. Or she'll call the cops to report me for running a business without a license, unless I get the lawn mowed. Now, I'm pretty sure of these 3 things, you don't need a license to mow a lawn. It's not a business since I don't ask for money or compensation, and that she doesn't have the number for the homeowners association that doesn't exist. Honestly, I should have stopped volunteering to mow her lawn a long time ago, but I just never had the heart. Except for last week. On the morning I was scheduled to mow, it poured rain. Now, those of you who mow lawns might know that you can't, or rather you shouldn't, mow your lawn directly after it rains for various reasons. And my neighborhood is pretty shaded, so it takes at least a day to dry up. So around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm just relaxing, playing video games, enjoying my free time, when out of nowhere, there's a frantic smashing of a fist on my door. Lo and behold, it's Karen, looking annoyed as ever. As soon as I crack my door, the yelling starts, and I'm almost blasted back as she tries to push my door open, calling me a lazy brat. I'm pretty laid back and used to dealing with angry adults, so this doesn't irk me that much. But when she starts to push the door open, that starts to piss me off. She then starts talking in a screeching voice saying, "Why isn't my lawn mowed? I need it mowed right now." I say to her, "Ma'am, it rained pretty heavily today. I can't." She then interrupts me and says, I don't give a rat's ass what the weather's like. You'd better get your ass out there because I have company coming over soon and my grass looks like crap. I respond, ma'am, I'm not gonna do your lawn. I didn't even mow my own today. Please stop harassing me. She then says, through clenched teeth and neck veins popping, if you don't mow the lawn right damn now, I will report you like I should have done a long time ago. Now, while I could have argued, which I don't like to do, I thought of a better plan. A small revenge. If she wants her lawn mowed, it's gonna come at a cost. I then sigh and say, alright ma'am, may I at least use my mower? Karen says no. You need to use my mower. I want my lawn exactly the way I like it. So with that, my plan was in action. So grabbing her lawnmower and seeing that her freshly rained on fancy BMW was right on the edge of the lawn, I start to mow. A note here is that she has an old lawnmower that has a side discharge. So I mowed it without the catch bag on, making sure I covered the car as much as I could. I only got about halfway through before the mower completely shut down due to clogging and the sheer dullness of the blade, but it all worked out. Later that day, after a nice shower and meal, I heard the reaction to my work, which was, to my amusement, the insane screaming and ranting about why the lawn was only half done and why her car was caked in mud and grass. Of course, she threatened again to report me to the non-existent HOA, to which I said, go ahead. And then once and for all, I told her that I refuse to mow her lawn ever again. Absolutely brilliant revenge on that Karen, guys. Like, how dare that woman knock on Opie's door demanding he mow her lawn when he hasn't even done his. And guys, I totally get the mowing a neighbor's lawn thing. I do it all the time for my neighbors and they do it for me. But if one day they decided to start telling me how their lawn should be cut and what type of lawnmower to use, I think I'd tell them to politely F right off. Like, there's a huge difference between helping someone and letting someone walk all over you. And Karen's lucky that grass clippings and mud is easy to wash off. Because guys, I've read enough petty revenge stories that the first thing I thought of was to salt her whole yard. Like, she can't ask me to cut grass if grass doesn't grow, right? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I hope you didn't shake your heads too hard. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/I don't work here lady episode, where a Karen decides to berate OP and she makes the biggest mistake of her life. Guys, go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.